This video I'm going to tell you how to change a main jet on a carburetor, an Autolite 1100. So this carburetor I bought from eBay. I'm using it on the Rambler. This is the 195.6 cubic inch displacement, sometimes called the 196 inline 6-cylinder engine. It's almost a 200 CID. So this carburetor is actually for a Ford Mustang or the Ford 200. A Ford 200 inline 6 engine. So there's only 4 cubic inch displacement between the two engines. So these carburetors should be compatible. Now, when I bought this one, it came with a size 67 main jet. And then I changed it to a size 53. And today I'm going to go even smaller to a 115 metric size. I'm not sure. I think that's about 47. I think that's a size 47 in Imperial or Standard. So the problem is that the car was using too much gas, and it wasn't running well at all. So actually the timing is set to pretty much the more advanced or the highest idle possible, and there's no pinging. But no matter how much I close the idle mixture, it still runs and pretty fast. So there's from my experience, there's two main indicators that the engine is getting too much fuel. The first one is the idle mixture screw. That one there. At the end of my finger. And usually you can tell it's the idle mixture screw because it's got a spring around it. If you turn that all the way in, if you close it, the engine should stall. It should die because it's not getting any fuel. So if you close that and the engine doesn't die, that's number one indicator that, in my experience, that the main jet is too big. The other indicator, the main indicator, is that you constantly have to keep accelerating it. Otherwise it'll stall, it'll die. So basically you let it idle and the worse it is, the less it will idle. So at one point when I had that other carburetor a while ago, you watched one of my previous videos, I think it was a Rochester 1 BBL, and it was just huge, and the engine wouldn't idle for more than, I don't know, maybe 20 seconds without stalling. And so in order to stop it from stalling, I had to keep revving it. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Then so that's it. Now that could be due to something else. It could be due to a damaged it could be a bad float. It could also be an accelerator pump. So there could actually, it can't be an accelerator pump. It would not accelerate, actually. There could be a leak, a fuel leak, causing it to do that. Now there could also be an intake leak that would kind of do the same thing, but that's the two main indicators that I use. There's the other ones are vapors, gas vapors coming out of the carburetor. The timing has to be all the way. Lots of smoke coming out of the exhaust. Like these cars, they won't smoke at all. The Rambler doesn't smoke at all after if everything is correct. Now there could also be the problem of having the wrong size carburetor like I had before. So there are a few other variables, but for me those are the two main indicators that it's getting too much fuel. again, constant need for acceleration, and what was the other one? Brain fart here. Yeah, constant need of acceleration, and whatever was the other one that I said. So this carburetor doesn't have a main jet nozzle, or a metering jet, sorry. So the way these things work is there's this brass screw right there, and that meters how much fuel is available to the car. Let's see if it'll zoom in here. So that's upside down, but that's, as you can see, usually they'll come stamped with size. That's, as you can see, a 53. So I'm kind of experimenting here, and as soon as I changed the size from 67 to 53, right away there was less smoke. It would idle. Would actually idle. Before it wouldn't. There was so much fuel that it wouldn't idle at all. Oh yes, that was the other one. So idle, again, okay, let me say it now. Idle and excessive need and constant need for acceleration. No idle, and oh yes, and the main jet. Sorry, three indicators really. So the idle mixture screw, constant need for acceleration, and bad idle, or no idle. And okay, so continuing, once I changed to a smaller size jet, I noticed that there was no more smoke coming out of the exhaust. It would actually idle better, would actually idle. Right now it's not idling really well, it's idling pretty poorly. So that tells me, but it was already a huge improvement. And the acceleration was a lot crispier, like the sound was a lot clearer. Like, vroom, a nice, whereas before the vroom. It's really hard to, I just watched one of my previous videos, but really, like, these engines, when they're set up right, they'll literally just purr, like you can barely hear them. So if it's loud and kind of sounding strange, that means there's something wrong. In my case, I'm missing half the exhaust, so, but when you're in the car, you can tell the difference. And again, I still have vapors coming out of there, and the idle mixture screw is not, when I close it all the way, the car doesn't die. So that tells me, once again, like I said, I need to change to a different size. So it is, how do you get the right size? There really is no way to know. You have to experiment unless somebody has actually done it before you. So unfortunately, my research, I couldn't find anybody that did this before. So I'm having to experiment here. The carburetor, the main jet, actually cost, I think, $10. There's this company here, Henkyo. They actually fabricate the carburetor, and I also bought, it's good to buy a few different sizes, since it's only $10, like, if you're going to do these experiments. So I bought a size 120 and a size 115 in metric. So I think that's, like, I think it's the 49 and 47. I'm not sure, but right, yes. So the next thing is, as you can see, I'm actually doing it on the car in the field. You don't have to remove the carburetor to do this. Actually, I think it's easier if you don't remove it. So all you have to do is remove the screws that hold the carburetor, and you kind of wiggle it out at an angle, and this here clears. I think that's the vent. That clears, and this here will clear out as well. The only thing that you got to be careful is at the end of this rod here, there's a spring, and that might fall off if you're not careful. You can't really see it when it's inside, so just keep heads up for that. What else? I might actually, the other problem I had with this carburetor is it's leaking over here, and it was a new carburetor, so it was a bit disappointing. This was the second carburetor they sent me. So I sent them an email again, and they sent me a whole rebuild kit, so I might actually do that in the next video, change that diaphragm. So I think that rubber is bad. So if the carburetor is leaking from here, then that rubber seal is probably bad. But I'll do that in the next video. There's quite a bit of crap in there, I know. I'll try to clean that out. But it is a very easy operation. I think this will only take in total like maybe 10 minutes. If you don't drop one of the screws. So, yeah, so I guess it's pretty straightforward. You need I'm not going to do a part 2 of this video. You need a flathead screwdriver to remove the main jet, and then you just put the other one in. Now, if you need a bigger jet, back then what people would do is just get a drill and drill the hole bigger. But since I need a smaller jet, I can't do that. I have to buy a different size jet. Again, this one doesn't. Some carburetors have like a metering jet. It's a needle that goes inside that hole. This one doesn't. So, all right. I guess we'll know how it goes.